On today's episode of Stompbox Saturday, a modulation legend miniaturized. What's going on, my friends? I'm Sean Pierce Johnson, and welcome to this week's episode of Stompbox Saturday. Today, we are taking a look at the brand new Mini Super Chorus Flanger pitch modulator from NUX, or NUX, as I'm probably just going to refer to it as for the rest of this video. Very few modulation pedals throughout the course of effects pedal history seem to capture the imagination of guitar players. You could probably count them all on one hand, and one of those fingers has to be the classic TC Electronics stereo chorus. And what NUX has done with the Mini Super Chorus is taken that classic sound, digitized it using their continuously improving DSP processing, and put it into a mini pedal with super simple controls and stealthy features that leave you wondering, how could something so powerful come in a package so small? The Mini Super Chorus is part of a group of additions to NUX's Mini Core Stompbox series, and we'll be looking at several of those over the course of the next few weeks and even into next year. And if I had my druthers, I would say that the Mini Super Chorus kind of epitomizes exactly what these recent editions are all about. Starting with the controls, everything is laid out in a very succinct and simple fashion. And of course, here on Stompbox Saturday, simplicity always wins the day. You have three controls that control the classic parameters from the original pedal: speed, width, and intensity for three different modulation effects, which you access via this little push button at the top of the enclosure. Not only do you get access to the classic chorusing sound, but you also get pitch modulation and flanger. The foot switch at the bottom is not only your bypass foot switch, it can also serve as a tap tempo foot switch. All you need to do is press and hold on the foot switch, and then once you're lapsed into that mode, you'll see the power LED start blinking to the pulse of the tempo. Then all you need to do is tap in the speed that you want and you're good to go. Now, a pedal this size, you can usually expect it to be mono in, mono out. It's been that way since I remember mini pedals really becoming a thing, and it hasn't been much of a problem. But NUX has gone a little bit above and beyond, and this has TRS jacks on the in and the out, meaning you can use both mono and stereo operation with the Mini Super Chorus. But clearly, these newer mini pedals that NUX has introduced have the future in mind, because on the side of the enclosure where the input jack is a USB-C connector, meaning that you can probably expect some firmware updates for these pedals, and the sounds will be continuously refined. And now that we've talked about all the features and specs of the Mini Super Chorus, let's plug the thing in and hear it do its job. Now, we will hear both mono and stereo sounds today, and I think you're going to be really surprised at the sounds of both of them. We're going to run through the three different modes, and with each one, I'm going to show you something that I think is really cool about each mode, whether that's a specific function of the pedal or just the fact of how well NUX was able to capture the sound of the legendary pedal that inspired this. So let's start with the chorus mode. It's great that we start out all knobs at noon, and this thing is that classic chorusing sound. You don't have to do a whole lot about it. But for me, what I love about the chorus mode is using the speed and the width to do some things that I don't normally do with chorus. I generally like to keep my speeds set on the lower side of the dial. I just find that that slow sweep is better suited for the kind of sound I'm going for. But because we have this width control, that to me, the best way that I can rationalize it is it's extending and decreasing the length of the waveform in the LFO. So we can turn the speed up a bit higher, turn the width back, and keep the intensity right at 12 o'clock. And although you would think it's going to give us more of a C6 sound, it ends up being something that there's a lot more motion underneath, but it's not sticking out so much. So with that idea in mind, I'm going to add on a little bit of delay, and we're going to mess around with something that gives us that percussive dotted eighth kind of vibe. The pitch modulation combines chorus and pitch vibrato together, and the intensity allows you to balance between the two. If we turn it full counterclockwise, we get something that sounds like this. And then if we turn it full clockwise, now, the idea here is that combining both effects produces a little bit of a lighter kind of chorusing sound. Almost think like the difference between chorus and dimension, whereas the Boss CE2 is really hefty on that modulation. The Dimension C is a little bit more subtle. And this is really where I like to veer into the typical thing that I do with chorus. A bit slower on the speed, will widen the sweep, and then I'll go ahead and lean a little bit towards that pitch vibrato side, and things just sound really good at that point. am an unashamed flanger fan. And I think the Cure is to blame for that. And I have to say, I've always gravitated towards the more jet flanging, usually done with an MXR, mostly because of Eddie Van Halen. But the watery kind of flanger that the Mini Super Chorus does is exactly the kind of like alt, goth, late 70s, 80s kind of thing that's just, I'm all about it. I love that it sounds unlike anything else that I currently have as a flanger in my collection. And I think it all comes down to what the intensity control is doing. And that is by adjusting the strength of the comb filtering effect that's going on within the pedal. When we turn it up more, things start to get a little bit more metallic, but equally as whooshy. It's, you know what? I'm just gonna do this. Full counterclockwise speed, full clockwise width, full intensity. You can just hear how it's like, it's not like a whoosh, it's a little bit more, I don't know, if I say any other funny sounds and word it in a certain way, you're probably gonna make fun of me in the comments. But to me, this kind of flanging, this is disintegration right here.
Hours later.
And now with our look at mono sounds on the Mini Super Chorus out of the way, we can finally swap this thing into stereo mode and hear it in glorious full left, full right stereo. There is a process to this, but it's very simple, so I'll walk you through it. First, let's unplug power from our pedal. Now you'll notice that there are two switches essentially on the Mini Super Chorus. We have our foot switch and then our mode select button. What you're gonna need to do is press and hold down on that little mode select button while applying power to the Mini Super Chorus. Now you see that when we did that, the light on that little button started flashing red. That lets you know that you've now lapsed the Mini Super Chorus into stereo mode. To know that you're in mono, it flashes blue. And you can switch that back and forth to your heart's content. Now, one little thing though. Once you lapse this thing into stereo mode, you are going to need TRS cables in order to get that left and right separation. Now, although one of these splitters is not included with the Mini Super Chorus, ones like this one made by Hosa, they're pretty easy to find. Amazon, Sweetwater Guitar Center, or any other musical instrument retailer should be able to get you one of these. So with that in mind, I have a little bit of a different setup for this portion of the video. From the guitar, we're going into some pedals on the floor, like a tuner, a distortion, and a compressor, and then coming up to my little pedal platform, running into a Boss DC2W. Now, we're not going to use that. This is mostly just sort of a fake junction box, if you will. I'm going in mono and out stereo from that pedal into a Y splitter going into the Mini Super Chorus. Then from the Mini Super Chorus using a short TRS cable that I soldered myself, going into the NUX edge delay, and then out via a breakout cable, splitting to the Orange Rocker Verb 100, which will be panned hard left, and the Hughes & Kettner Black Spirit 200, which will be panned hard right. By the way, if you'd like to know how to solder your own TRS cable, let me know in the comments section, and maybe I'll consider doing a little video series on soldering your own cables. Now, I think the best thing to do is for me to quit talking and get to hearing this thing in stereo because it is just mwah, beautiful. and that is the Mini Super Chorus from NUX, or NUX, depending on whatever you feel like you want to pronounce it as at that point in time. Now, there's only one real shortcoming that I can see with this pedal, and that's when I turn it on, there's an apparent boost in overall volume. I'm not entirely sure why that is. It happened in both mono and stereo modes, so you can't really say that it's because, oh, you're using it in mono or you're using it in stereo. It's just there. But it's one of those things that I don't really feel is that big of a problem. Ultimately, what it comes down to for me is the quality of the effect produced by the Mini Super Chorus. And I gotta say, it's got that vibe. It's got that great, clean, high fidelity modulation sound that you would associate with this particular era that this pedal is trying to capture. And I also think that it's really cool that you can audibly hear a difference between mono operation and stereo operation. Some modulation pedals that claim to run stereo just don't feel stereo. They don't really sound all that stereo either. They kind of just end up making you feel like you're just running in dual mono with the effect going to both outputs. Based on what I'm hearing, and I could be completely wrong on this, or we could just be hearing things differently, the pitch modulation mode is where I really notice how the stereo field is affected. But of course, all this is just my opinion, and I'd love to hear from all of you. What did you think of the Mini Super Chorus? What's your favorite mode? Or what do you think NUX is up to with that USB-C connector on this pedal? Whatever it is, let me know your thoughts in the comments section down below. And if you would, I would greatly appreciate your support in helping this channel to keep growing, which it has been doing a lot of recently, and I am so thankful for it. The easiest thing you can do is clicking that subscribe button and ringing the notification bell. But if you want to go one step above and beyond and get videos like this sent direct to your email inbox, go to SeanPierceJohnson.com/email-list, give me your name, email address, and you are part of my email newsletter club. Like I said, links to videos like this and others are sent direct to your email inbox without the algorithm screwing things up. Thank you so much for spending part of your day with me, everyone. I hope you enjoyed our look at the Mini Super Chorus, and come back next week where we'll be taking a look at the brand new Edge delay from the very same Mini Core Stompbox drop. And until then, my friends, I'm Sean Pierce Johnson, wishing you all watching great tone, great health, and of course, happy stomping. Cheers, friends. See you in the future. God bless.